Hello, my name is Jeff Rolka. Thank you for checking out my video. This is video 3 in the high note singing series. We are learning to sing over the break, to go from our thyroarytenoid dominant singing voice to our cricothyroid dominant singing voice, head voice to chest voice if you like. The goal is to practice this so that we get very good at being in the appropriate range at the appropriate time, and that will ultimately allow us to smooth out the transition, to sing smoothly across the break. I talk a little bit more in these videos than I would in my normal warm-up videos, so I'm not gonna dally around any longer. I will, however, say thank you if you have chosen to subscribe. I truly appreciate your support in that regard. Thank you to those of you who have joined me on Patreon. I truly appreciate your support in that regard as well. And for those of you who have become members here on the YouTube channel, thank you. I appreciate your support. I truly appreciate it. So, in the first video, we had a perfect fourth to navigate this transition. Here, we have a minor third. We're going to be singing triads. Now, it is important to try to listen, both literally and figuratively, to your voice. Because there's going to be a place where it's going to feel more comfortable making that transition. As you learn more about your voice, as you continue to do this practice, you're going to feel, like it kind of wants to be more cricothyroid here. I thought it was over here, actually, or I thought it was higher, or I thought it was lower. Whatever it might be, listen, both, literally listening to your voice, but then figuratively, what does it feel like? What are these sensations? Does it feel like it wants to be in that register or that register? Which one is it? We're going to be doing a couple different vowels. And aside from that, I think let's just get to some singing. We're going to start here. And FYI, if you haven't warmed up yet, you might want to do that. And also, anecdotally, if you don't have an arpeggio breath management practice, all of this will be made better and more effective if you also practice your arpeggio breath management. So, by all means, sing along with me here and do the exercises, but definitely get on board with some arpeggio. It will make this all work vastly better. I know this from personal experience. And if I could, I would help you avoid the pitfalls that I fell into. I did not start practicing arpeggio. It's been a while now, but in terms of when I began singing and got to teaching and all that kind of stuff, arpeggio came later for me. Get to it. It will help. To begin with, you, and you'll hear that E natural for me is definitely below my break. You, that's very hollow. Head voicey. You, not so much so. You, yes, it needs some vowel modification because it's close to my break. Secondo passaggio. For me, for our mezzo and soprano friends, this is your primo passaggio. Like the mezzos will have their primo passaggio about here. Sopranos, you might have your primo passaggio even as low as E flat, confusingly enough. But just hang on and try that as we get into like B major and then B flat. You'll have that same relationship that I'm having. You. Slowly. And. One more. I wasn't originally intending to go that low, but I'm thinking of our bass baritone and potentially bass friends out there. The baritone secondo passaggi could be D up to E. Tenors will be F and F sharp-ish. Statistically speaking, that's most likely. And again, the break isn't how high can I sing before everything explodes and falls apart on me. We're looking for a balanced point of transition. If you can't balance things out, then you might be trying to do the transition too high or too low. Experiment a little bit. You, One more time. And now, one of the ways that we can learn a bit more about our voices and maybe coax out where we really want to be in thyroarytenoid dominant singing voice, chest voice, as opposed to head voice, is by using a narrower, well, oo is a very narrow vowel, but it's of the rearward focusing variety. If we try an E vowel, that tends to coax things out of us. So here, you, we, try that. And you, we, you, we, you, we. Let's do it again. And now, another way you can learn about how this is all going to work is to then try the whole thing with we. It is likely to be more difficult to have that you with the we syllable. The E vowel is said to be a narrow, forward-focusing vowel. In general, it's easier for us to have that fall into our chest voices, which is why I used it the way I did in that previous exercise. In this one, I am, in a way, asking you to command more control over how you are configuring your vocal folds. Can you take that narrow, forward-focusing vowel sound in the E vowel syllable, modify it sufficiently, and then also retain the adduction, the closure, if you like, of your vocal folds? It will not sound the same here as it does there. We. So it sounds like this. We. Try it with me. And we. On your own. And one more time. And now, alto or contralto range vocalists, you are likely to have your primo passaggio around this G sharp. So these exercises are quite likely reasonably easy for you. They're all in a comfortable range of your voice. Let's try navigating this primo passaggio. So, you, we'll do all U's, kind of cycling back around to the beginning of our exercises here. And basically, try to be above that primo passaggio here, sort of cricothyroid dominant-ish. Not too much, but a little bit. And then more into your comfortable thyroarytenoid dominant singing voice range, your chest voice range. sopranos and mezzos, I would suggest you try doing 2 notes as appropriate in that middle voice, lower middle voice register, and then transitioning out for the third. Tenors and baritones, you can try 2 notes above the break if you like, but then make sure that as we descend, you change appropriately. So from D major, we'd have 2 above, more or less. D flat, 1, maybe that one 2 for the tenors, but probably for the baritones. Here, tenors, you're going to be, 1 above, 2 below. Baritones might still be 2 above or on the secondo passaggio, so on and so forth. So you have you, and one more. Let's do it again. And U into we. Again, keeping in mind that depending on where you are, for me, that we is still going to be quite modified and still just on the top side of my secondo passaggio. You, we, and one more time. And finally, we. And one more time. And so, as I mentioned, I think I mentioned this in the second video, eventually we have to go from these descending patterns to ascending patterns. Hopefully I'm still bright enough to, I realize I just lost my key light, the batteries ran out. We have to go from these descending patterns to these ascending patterns because we might sing an ascending phrase. We might sing a descending phrase too. In music, we get all kinds of things, so we can't just do it from the top down. But most of our habits form going from the bottom up. And so it's easier to rewrite these habits if we start from the top down. That's why we learn these exercises this way. When we do the next exercise, it is of critical importance that the highest note sound the same each time. So, for example, you. You can hear that top note is both times very head voicey, very cricothyroid dominant. You. We're not trying to smooth this out entirely. We've got too big of intervals for that right now. We are just practicing being in the right configuration of the voice at the right time. The smoothing out happens once we start doing scales and all the different vowels and things like that. But so for now, you. It's okay if it's a little extra cricothyroid dominant. That's perfectly fine. And we're going to start there in C major once again. With me. And you. on your own. And more time. And you. So you have if you're thinking about this like a triad, you have the 5th scale degree is what we're starting with, and you have the 3rd scale degree and the tonic, or the 1st scale degree. All the 3rds and all the tonics are we's, all the 5ths are you. You, we, you, we. Let's do that again. And again. And let's move back up. So the altos, you can practice your primo passaggio, and the rest of us can sort of practice making sure we've got just the right number of high notes above the secondo passaggio. If you're a little uncertain, I would encourage you to err to the side of being cricothyroid dominant for the time being. As you continue your practice, your voice will reveal its tendencies. It will reveal its nature to you, and then you can be more accurate in that third. The third of the chord in these exercises is the one that's going to vacillate between being above the secondo passaggio and below. So, you. And Same again. And more time. And there you go. I mentioned an apagio practice earlier in this video. It is also worth mentioning that these exercises will be made easier if you maintain your regular vowel alignment practices in the comfortable thyroarytenoid dominant singing voice range of your voice. It will also be assisted by focusing on your vowel modification practices, because that does come into play in these exercises. There's plenty of videos here on the channel that detail those exercises that you can go through and do those practices with. This is just a look at the technique for learning to smooth out your break. You start by just getting really consistent access so that you exactly know when you're going to be in your cricothyroid dominant singing voice or your lower middle range, sopranos and mezzos, and when you're not. And then we make that the habit. We go back and forth and we learn to get more and more coordinated in how we make the transition, and that smooths out the break. There is more to come in this series. I suppose the last thing I would mention is that, we're doing these videos a week apart. That's how I release videos on the channel. But last week's video might take you more than just a week. Don't feel like you have to keep up with the releases. I'm not going to, the videos are going to stay on YouTube. And I mention that because I think it's desirable to want to have a quick fix to this, but there isn't. It's just a practice. And if you just make it a practice and practice so that you are consistent in the skills that I'm delivering in these videos, then you'll smooth out your break. It's really quite that simple. So keep at it, have patience, take your time. A big thank you again if you have chosen to subscribe. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Patreon supporters. You really keep this train going. I really appreciate your support, so thank you for that. And until next time, thanks everyone. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for subscribing. Thank you if you're a member on YouTube. Thank you for sharing my videos. I'm always getting stories about how folks are sharing what I'm doing here on the channel with others and how it's helping them. And I'm just so grateful for that. So thank you very, very much for everything. Really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Take really good care of your voices. Enjoy singing. And hopefully we will see you again. Bye.